You ready? So we're going to go down this left-hand side, and then we're going to go down the right-hand side. On the right-hand side, you're going to see two columns, right? There's an ours and a seller's. We're going to fill out the seller side first, because we're using the seller's numbers. When would you fill out the R section? When we start to get into the actual financials that they're sending us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So today we'll fill out the seller side, okay? So, line number 1, number of units. If you mess this up, we're in trouble. 123, right?
So property information first?
123. That's where you'd be putting like the address and all that. Yeah, we're in this
Okay,
right here.
got it.
So 123 units. Now, purchase price, write this number down and then I'll explain how we got to it, and then we can mess around with that number if we want, right? So just put in right now 9,500,000. 9,500,000. How do we get to that number? Well, you're going to see here in a minute when we get to all their different numbers, they had an NOI of 575,335, okay? When I take that 575 number and I divide it by the market cap rate, it's going to tell me what they should be selling the home for, right? So then we determine in there, is it a 5, 5.5, 6, 4.5, whatever, depending on, like, you. By the way, what you're going to see, Austin is going to be way lower cap rates than San Antonio.
Oh, yeah.
Just what it is right now. Houston is going to be higher cap rates than San Antonio. Is what you'll start to see. So they can change quickly, right, in market to market. But, so what I looked at real quick was the 575 number divided by 0.06. That gives you 9,588,000. So we're going to start at 9,500,000. Will they accept that offer? Probably not, maybe, who knows? We start at least the negotiation process, right? Okay? So that'll make more sense when we get to the NOI on the other side. Hold time, I wouldn't worry about that right now. That's going to be determined during due diligence with what's our strategy, right? But property type, we talked a lot about this on the bus, the property in the area. What did we discuss with the property itself? I think it's a C plus more. It's had a lot of renovation done to it, but it still needs a lot of interior renovation. The common areas were actually pretty well manicured. You had a nice pool, you had the good gazebo area. It does have some covered parking. So yeah, I think you're a B minus even property type. Area type though, we talked about the lack of amenities, close by shopping and restaurants and things like that. So we called it more a B minus property sitting in a C plus area. Kind of where I would be on that. Yes? No. We're going to do it what we think is set up, right? Because like I said, they're calling that a B-class property. Not way off, right? It has pools, it has laundry facilities, it has covered parking, it's had some renovation done to the exterior. There's things that make that a B property for sure. I didn't trust the renovation fully on the exterior. I think there's still some issues with the soffit, the fascia and stuff. There's things that don't make it feel to me like and it needs a lot of interior renovation, obviously. They've only done 15 units or whatever, right?
Doesn't the age of the property also dictate?
Age can help determine that, right? But where I be careful with age is, so we get these areas now that are like historic areas, right? They're old as can be, but people come in and completely renovated the area. Those can be A areas, right? I talk about Old Hyde Park in Kansas City. That, if you look at age, that's a D minus F. It's 100-something-year-old properties. But now they've built a new hospital there. People are renovating all these properties. They've got the great woodwork. The city's built this big walking dog park area. And it's a B plus area, even though it's a 100-year-old property. So I wouldn't say the age of the property determines that, but it definitely is a factor in a lot of cases. Mm-hmm. All right, let's keep going down here. Year built was 1968, right? Now, market upside. Market upside is going to matter more on the right side than this left side, but let's talk about a few numbers in here. The first number it's asking you is, what is the market potential rent? Okay? So, we're going to call that this number right here, 1,600,000 $747,89. Okay? $1,747,89. But if you go to the third line in this section, there's a term that says loss to lease. What does loss to lease mean? How much money are you not bringing in due to your lease agreements compared to the market rents? Meaning, if market rent today was $1,000, but I signed a lease agreement with her for $800, I've got a $200 loss to lease. My lease is costing me $200 of what I could get. So you'll hear it called also a gain potential, right? Because it's rents that could have potentially one day go up. So it's our market upside. But right now you'll see if you put in that third line, they're saying there's a loss to lease of $165,585. So in that third little line there, we would write that $165,585. So they're saying basically your lease agreements that you have signed compared to what the market rents are, you're losing $165,000 potential dollars. Now, do they usually fib about that number a little bit? Yeah, because really, if it's 160 more, why have you not been raising rents? And sometimes it's because of condition of property and things like that, right?
I think you just answered.
Okay.
That 165 is not based off of like the.
It could be
they
that
just
they're
got.
not getting it because their units are distressed inside, right? So it's a this 1740 number minus loss to lease. So actually you're bringing in this. So market is this, 1,747,789. Loss to lease though is 165,585, which means you're actually bringing in, if you want this number here, it's 1,575,204. Thanks for verifying my math. So that's going to go in the gross scheduled actual. Okay?
Which is also the GPR.
Not yet. Yeah, you can call that, yes. Let's not go into that right now. Different numbers will confuse us now, right? That's what we call the mortgage information, right? So purchase price was $9,500,000. And remember, if you're using the spreadsheet, all this is going to automatically calculate for you when you put in how much you're offering, right? So we're doing it manually here, but $9,500,000. Next line says percentage down. How much should we plan on putting down?
25?
25%. We'll get a loan for 75 and we'll put down 25, right? So 25% down, which means your down payment would be how much? Awesome. $2,375,000. That's 25% of your purchase. $2,375,000.
9.5 million is the purchase price.
Next line says mortgage amount.
25% down, yeah.
Right? How much are you going to have in a mortgage? That's 75% of the purchase, right? The amount we're not putting down?
$7,125,000.
Yeah, so 75% would be $7,125,000. So it's what we call a 75-25 loan, right? We're borrowing 75 and bringing down 25 from other investors and stuff. Is everyone good so far to there?
Yep.
What's the down payment?
20. Today, I have 4.25. In 2 weeks, that could literally be higher. It's just, right now, it's very fluid.
Right.
I told you yesterday, 6 months ago, we were telling people put 3.25, 3.5, and you might even be up to 5, right?
Yep.
So for now, just put 4.25 interest rate. And remember, as you put in the spreadsheet 4.25, it's going to run your number for you, right? So we're going to have to come up with ours in just a second. Now, follow me on this next line. This gets a little confusing, okay? It's asking you how long are you going to amortize the loan for? 25, 30 years, right? You're going to have different ways. Now, the part that gets a little confusing, though, is the way they have it here. It says, in parentheses there, it says 250 years if interest only. So what they're saying is, if you're going to get one that you want to be interest only at first, like we want, to figure out what that payment would be, in where it says loan period, instead of putting like 25 or 30 years, put 250, and I'm going to show it to you, and that'll tell you what you should expect your monthly payment to be during that interest-only period. Okay?
Wow.
So follow me here. So we're going to borrow.
Damn.
Where is it at here?
It's definitely a short-term deal.
125,000, right? 4.25 for 30 years. So if I ran it at an amortization of 30 years, not interest only, just 30 years, right? I'd have a monthly payment of $35,000 a month. If I want to look like we told you to do it, right, so we can get a better return to our investors. Remember, you don't care about how much is paid off. You're getting rid of it in 3 to 4 years. You're not holding this for 30 years, right? Get the interest only as long as you can. If you look at a loan right now, you barely pay any principal anyway in the first few years, right, of a loan. So we're going to go interest only as long as possible. But, so, the way they run that though is instead of 30 years, we put 250 years. So 7.125 million on the purchase at 4.25. And then loan period, because it's the interest only part, would be put 250 in here. That's what they're telling you to do in parentheses, right? If you want to look at your interest only, do 250 years. That's what it says in that little paragraph there, or that little parentheses there, right? Which means our monthly payment would be $25,235. Is that a big difference from the one? Huge, which means who gets a better return? Our investors and us, right? So, someone do me a favor on a calculator. I would take this number and times it by 12 to get what's called down here your annual debt service, right? 12